I was once a vibrant, living human being. My 4 years in America by eighth grade had somehow taken that life, that vibrancy out of me, and I blamed the people that were closest to me for that, particularly my mother. From fifth through eighth grade in Brooklyn, I asked nothing of her. As long as my base needs of food and shelter were met, she'd done her job. Though young, I could see what was going on in the apartments we lived in, and it didn't make me happy. Sure, I was doing things and smiling once in a while, but I was miserable, and I blamed her for not really getting at my misery. She should have caught on. I mean, most mothers did. The fact is, my mother had me when she was very young, in her early 20s, and growing up on the island, she was still busy living her life as a young adult. And when we got to the United States, from day one, she was working every single day. And so there was not really that time to develop a relationship, an ongoing dialogue about who she was, who I was, and where we were going. She was too busy, and I was too busy for that to happen. I mean, I remained cordial. I said hello and goodbye and did things whenever she asked me to do them. I mean, I couldn't be an all-out brat about the situation. After all, the woman had given me life, raised and fed me, brought me to the States. There was no logic in dismissing her. A wrathful God would surely punish me. I mean, honor thy mother and father was his commandment. I had to follow that. I knew my mother was not at complete fault for my feelings of inadequacy and doubt. But my 3 years in middle school had formed this history between us of never truly connecting. And the fact that that love that I thought needed to be there did not exist between us as I wanted it to be, I began to see love as that one ingredient that would make me happy. At that time, it could not have been personal love. I didn't have a personal relationship with anybody. I didn't know how to do that. That dynamic had never really been practiced for me in this country. My vision of love and family love was born from the television shows that I was addicted to growing up. Growing Pains, Who's the Boss, Different Strokes, Family Ties, they still hooked me to that celluloid vision of family, of that love. And my family never measured up to that image. And even if we did, I refused to participate in our reality. By eighth grade, my mother and her boyfriend, they'd gotten better paying jobs, so there was more money to get more stuff and do more things. And by eighth grade, I had two younger brothers. They were born when I was in middle school. And my two younger sisters had come with me from St. Vincent. So whenever my mother and her boyfriend would say, okay, let's go to Coney Island, or let's go to McDonald's, or let's order pizza or something, they were all ready to do it. But me, every single time they wanted to do something fun, I said no. I refused. And I did this because I wanted to spite them. I wanted to let them know that I saw everything that was going on in the house and I didn't agree with it. It was sort of a political statement, well, more an emotional statement, telling them that I would not be drawn into their mess and they could not buy my affection. When I was younger and I needed their help to grow as a human being, they weren't there. They were busy. And so now when they had time and money to invest in building those relationships with their younger kids, I told them more or less to go screw themselves. I was going to raise me. I was going to love me. I was going to figure it out on my own. Since leaving Brooklyn, people have often asked me, why didn't I go down that dark road? And you can see that somebody in my situation could have easily gone down a dark road. Gangs, violence, drugs. I mean, what are gangs? They're a surrogate family. They provide a structure, an organization, a relationship, a bond that your family couldn't. But I understood that that bond existed in my family. It's just that I didn't participate in it. That particular nugget of understanding was very key to helping me. The fact that there is always a structure, an organization, there's always something in place. It is your relationship to that structure. It is your bond to that organization. It is your engagement with those people that makes it worthwhile. That's an important bit of universal knowledge for a 13, 14-year-old. But to practice the reality of that was another task altogether. Pain exists with those relationships. Pain exists with those bonds. Pain exists with human engagement. I had seen that. Emotionally, I was still a child, a 1 or 2-year-old child who gets pricked or pinched. He cries. He cries because in that moment, he thinks that pain is all that exists and it will never be over. Now, as they grow older, their reaction to that pain changes. They don't cry as loud or as much because they know that that pain will subside. Something else will come. Somebody will come and make them feel better. The pain will go away. And they experience pain on a bigger degree so that that small minor pain, they shut it off. It's not that important. And people did come, my mother included. But I didn't give her the time and the energy that we both needed to get over our mess. In fact, it would be a few years until I understood the full extent of our mess, specifically my mother's mess. Mother, 2 kids on an island. Her sisters and brothers leaving, her mother leaving, alone, having to fend for herself. Or mother, 4 kids in Brooklyn, having to make waves in an American dream turned nightmare, where she knew she wasn't doing the best we could, and she knew that I knew that, and that I blamed her for all of it. So once I got the facts straight, and my emotional maturity caught up with my intellectual capacity, I was ready to handle our reality. I was ready to engage. I was ready to do that because my life began to make sense in a way that I could comprehend it. But that was all in the years to come. In eighth grade, my mother knew I didn't want to do some of the things that she asked, but I did them anyway. I went to the laundry with her Saturday afternoons, watching the clothes turn from dirty to clean, waiting for our lives to turn from dirty to clean. If she asked me to go somewhere, I'd go. It was as if I had left my body and was dwelling in the world of ideals, trying to live a decent life under God. In my created world, I could practice kindness and compassion for her, even though those emotions were never real to me. It quickly became obvious I was fake, and that bothered me. That really bothered me. And it made me work that much harder to understand what was really going on so I could live a real life as a real human being. To be human was about experience and learning and changing and living and doing things and having relationships, even relationships full of arguments and conflict. To be human meant love, and love is something that had to be developed. If my mother had talked to me when we were growing up, hugged and nurtured me, our bond would have been tighter. So when the craziness of adolescence hit me, and she had to figure out a way of dealing with that craziness, we would have had something established. I would have been able to go to her because I'd always done that. But that was not our reality. Once I began placing variables like power, need, time, emotions, history, and the elements of day-to-day life into the skewed family equation that I lived, a clearer picture of myself, of my mother, of my siblings, and of family in general was drawn.
Why do you think she asked you to get the corned beef at the back of the cupboard?
I don't know. She needs some help.
Come on, man. Do you think a woman who was left alone on an island to raise two kids, who started her own primary school when the volcano erupted in '79 and all the island schools were closed, do you think a woman like that who got you and your sisters here, who works for pennies without any papers, and still manages to put clothes on your back and food on your plate every single day, do you think that woman really needs you to help her figure out how to get the beef at the back of the cupboard?
I don't,
Come on, man. She wants you to feel something. You know, when you hand her that can, she wants you to look in her eyes. She wants to see life in your eyes. She wants to see a connection, some bond between you. She knows it's not there, and she knows she needs it because she knows you need it. And why can't you look at her? Be honest with yourself. For once, be honest with yourself.
I don't want to see her cry. I don't want to look at her sadness. That's always there.
You're damn right you don't. Because you know they're there because they're inside you too. I know you want her to be your mother, and I know you want to be her little baby boy. I know that. And the most frustrating part of having to talk to you or to deal with you is that I feel that hunger that you refuse to acknowledge is there.
That gap between what I wanted to do and what I was ready to do was the saddest part of the experiment of my life back then. Somewhere deep down in me there was gold, oil, diamonds and pearls all shiny and sparkling. I knew that. No matter what happened in life, somehow I knew that. Nobody played sports with as much passion as I did if there wasn't that energy, that fire within. A semblance of compassion had to exist in me. I went to school every day, did my homework, attacked nobody, stole from nobody, got the grades, and tried to live decent. That had to say something about my character. But what? And why didn't I know it or feel that character? I must have been him sometime, somewhere. When other Vincentians visited our apartment, I was ashamed. I could never remember them, but they always remembered me. And somehow I sensed disappointment in them, or maybe it was more so in me. They were each waiting for another version of me to talk. They were all ruckus, noisy, belly full of laughter. They spat out Brooklyn's harshness, recognized that the life they lived in this country was hard, dangerous, a deadly disappointment. But they were going to live no matter what. Vincentians were going to live no matter what. So I had to live no matter what. I had to engage no matter what. I had to create bonds no matter what. I had to discover love and live in love no matter what.